my gosh, I'm living the life that I judged other people about living.
Mm.
I did. I had judgment on other people. And I'm like, how do they stay in something like that? That is crazy. I didn't even see it when I was in it.
Welcome to the Irene Podcast. And today we have with us Carrie Crane, and she's going to share with us her story. And so let's get started.
Sweet.
Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you. It's fun to be here.
So, have you been on podcasts before?
I have been on a couple, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's been your favorite part about podcasting so far?
I don't know if I have a favorite part. I'm a really funny person when it comes to favorites. I have favorites in the moment. I don't have a favorite forever.
Yeah.
So, but I think getting to share my story, hopefully inspiring somebody else to do the same. There's so much healing in being able to speak about your chapters and then, open
Yeah.
them and close them as, you desire and for the benefit of others and then
Yeah.
their healing journey. So I think that's the biggest, I would say. If I was to say I have a favorite, that
That's
would
your
be it.
favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because I think that's very true. And I think, like earlier, we were talking about vulnerability and just being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we strive for. And you align with that. So, this is going to be beautiful. I can already tell. So,
Awesome.
first question I want to ask you is if I met you at 17, what would I have seen?
Oh, goodness. So, most of my high school life I've spent pregnant. So, I had my first baby at 15, and my second baby I actually had right after my 17th birthday. I was living in Logan at the time. They have a school there for unwed moms, and my little boy was able to go to school or preschool or whatever daycare in the basement, and then I went
To the
to
school.
to the school, and then I was also able to get my CNA while I was there. And my baby that I had there, I placed for adoption with a family there in Logan, and then we moved back home. So if you met me at 17, I was just coming out of that phase and was finally getting a little bit of a high school life. Um, Not much because I was still a mom,
Yeah.
and yeah. So anyway, that's where I was at.
Okay. So, what was going on beneath the surface that nobody else could see?
Looking back and from the lens of myself now, what was going on then,
Mm.
it would have been patterns that, have been a cycle up until, and probably just a couple of years ago of just trying to find somebody to love me. Um, live, my father, I lived in an emotionally unavailable home.
Mm.
Unless the emotion was chaos and abuse and being mean, but zero emotional availability. My mom was forced out of my life at 4, and so I was adopted by my stepmom, who is a phenomenal human. She really is. She's an angel on this earth. But her and I did not get along until I was 15 and had the baby. She was never able to have kids of her own, so having the baby in the home was like a really cool thing for her to experience and her to. She was so supportive, and she is the reason that I'm successful today as
Mm.
far as being able to. I would have never been able to do that alone at 15, and she had my back on all of it. But it wasn't until 15 that we had that relationship.
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, those patterns of just wanting to be loved, and you found a guy that was like, "Yeah, I'll love you," and then also there's a lot of church background too. Like you're intimate, you're stuck with that person for. You need to be with that person, right? You're
Yeah.
living in sin. Get married. Get married. Get
Yeah.
married. So there was also some of that too. And my oldest boy was conceived on the first time in intercourse, and it was a planned pregnancy, and it was to get me out of my house because of the abuse that was going on there. And anyway,
Because that's how you think when you're
yeah,
15.
you don't, and you have an 18-year-old guy that's sitting here saying all these things, and you're like, okay, okay,
Well, he
okay,
knows because he's older.
right. And so, you know, and maybe he did think he was saving me. I don't know. I ended up in a foster home right after that and was pulled away from him, which was probably the right thing to do with a 15 and 18-year-old,
Yeah.
And, my parents and everybody wanted me to place him for adoption, but it was the first time in my life I'd ever really felt love.
Mm.
Like, other than animals. I grew up on a farm. I had all the animals and those types of things all around me. Loved, loved, loved that. Um, However, like, to hold a little human and feel that love, and I remember the LDS social worker telling me, "It's just baby doll love." Call me in a week. We'll come and get
Mm.
him. And I was just like, and my mom was so upset, and anyway, but so we took him home despite my dad, screaming and yelling. And that was the first time somebody actually stood up for me in my entire life that I can recall,
Yeah.
is when she said, if you don't like it, you can leave. She's bringing the baby home. So
You're like,
anyway,
for the first time, I feel loved and someone has my back
yep.
on
For
the
first
same
time
day.
on the same day. And it was like, literally when I, I don't ever recommend this, that a 15-year-old has a baby. I don't
No,
recommend
no,
that
yeah,
by all means. However, for me, it was the path that I needed to have in order to, for where I'm at now. I am
yeah,
very goal oriented, very driven that way. I made an adult decision. I needed to, I went to Logan because it was the only program in Utah that would take me before I was 17. I was 17 when I, was done with the program, and so they let me in, but it was the only one in Utah.
yeah,
And then it just happened my uncle lived up there, and he knew a family that was really wanting a baby, and all of the things. So, but yeah, it was just chasing that love, wanting to feel loved, and then not even understanding what love was,
yeah.
you know?
Just
Um,
knowing there was an emptiness, and it felt like
mhm,
love was part of that missing piece that you
right,
didn't have.
right. Because I've always loved big.
Yeah,
My entire life, I love big.
yeah. I feel that.
So,
I feel that I love big, but I feel big too. So I
right,
feel like even small emotions for other people to me are this big.
right, right.
So I understand that a lot.
Yep.
But you don't realize that when you're 15,
No. No, you don't. And, like,
16,
it didn't make
17.
any sense.
Yeah.
All of the sense it made was the information I was being given, and I wasn't taught any differently. I was a kid that was just pushed out on the farm and, like, "Go play, do your thing. When you
Yeah.
hear dad whistle, come in for lunch. When go in for lunch, get back in the truck, go out to the farm. We hear dad whistle, it's time to go back home," And we were creative, we had fun, we learned how to work. I have an amazing work ethic and drive because of it. I have so many blessings from
Oh,
all of
yeah.
my experiences growing up, and there's just a lot of things that I didn't learn. So,
Yeah. But I love what you just said though, that you know that all those things that did happen in your life were for your benefit.
mhm,
And we talked about this on the phone when I talked to you the other day, is like you can look at everything as it happened to me, or like you like to say it happened for me,
mhm.
because you can be a victim of it or you can learn from it and use it to grow into something else.
Right, because the opposite of victim is creator.
Yeah.
And I can't create the life that I'm desiring if I'm still stuck in victim,
I love that.
right? And so, yeah, are we a victim of our circumstances? Absolutely, sometimes. And we need to process that for what it is. But if I'm going to stay there, I'll never be able to create.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and when you see people that are really struggling and really having a hard time, it's because they are stuck in that spot.
it is. It is. And they want to, and sometimes there's a secondary game to stay there, right? We see that with physical pain sometimes. Like, I don't want to get rid of the physical pain because then maybe somebody will stop taking care of me or they won't love me. We hear all the dynamics. When I used to work with Dee Dee, like we heard it all. And
Yeah.
the secondary gains are a huge thing to stay in that victim mindset.
Or it's comfortable.
It is. And
That's
it
another
is a
reason
programmed
to
thing
stay.
too, another programming. Yeah, seeing mom sick and I saw that's just what my dynamic is, right?
That's all I know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, my grandma passed away from obesity at 65. I just got my genetic test back, and I have 8 of the genetic variables, both from my mom and my dad for obesity. And I've known my entire life that my grandma passed away from, and my mom, has struggled with her weight on and off for a long time. And and my dad was just a jerk about it growing up. Like, he's like, you only one pound cake for you. One, and
Mm.
my brothers are having a couple or whatever, but you can't be fat like Grandma Chris, those types of things. Subsequently led to eating disorders in my 20s, and actually getting hospitalized for them. And but all of that, like, also rooted me into a passion space for fitness and
Mm.
health. And again, I didn't learn a lot of like what I know until, into my later 30s and those types of things when I was actually able to jump out of survival mode for a minute and be like, okay, what's a healthy way to do this?
Yeah.
You know? So all of it, again, how's it all happening for me? I can relate a lot differently with people that have an eating disorder, right? I can call in a client and be like, okay, I might know not exactly like what you feel like, or But I can tell you I have a story that relates to that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I've created rapport with a client.
Yeah.
So,
Like, I get it, because that's one thing too for me is, like, when I meet somebody who hasn't experienced some of the things that I have, and I'm trying to talk about it with them and they just can't quite grasp it,
mhm,
it's very hard to, like, connect like that. It's very hard to trust even, I think, to a certain degree, because 'cause you're like, "But you've been in shape your whole life and you've never had a struggle with your weight," or whatever it is.
mhm,
It makes it a little bit easier if you feel like the person that's trying to help you understands a little bit where you're coming from, because a
right.
lot of times it's here more than anywhere
Absolutely.
else.
Absolutely.
And being with somebody that kinda gets it, even if it's like your eating disorder might be a little different from theirs, like,
Mhm,
you get it.
right.
You get
There's
the
something
mental
that
around it.
created that cycle somewhere,
Yeah,
no matter what. Like, now we can talk about that.
yeah,
Let's get to the root cause,
yeah,
because that's where healing starts, right? That is, I mean, my biggest thing is like healing is finding purpose in the pain. Like, I have a whole program called Purpose Driven Coaching. This is me also. I have a little bit of a get super excited and talk super fast.
that's
So,
okay.
but yeah, so finding your purpose from some of that. I mean, and it doesn't have to be physical pain, because there's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual pain that every single one of us can land on. I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
There's probably somewhere that there's a trauma related.
yeah, everybody has trauma.
Mhm. Yep.
Even the most what we think could be the most perfect scenario, there's gonna be trauma, because
Absolutely.
life is just crazy like that,
Mhm.
and everything affects each of us differently.
Absolutely.
Like, for me growing up, a lot of times I would feel things very big and people around me would be like, "Stop overreacting, stop acting like, stop making being dramatic." Like, these kinds of words would be used towards me, and I
Mhm.
always feel like I'm just a dramatic person, but inside I'm like, I don't feel like I'm being dramatic, because I feel all these things as deeply as I'm
Mhm.
expressing.
Right.
And so it was kind of hard sometimes to, like, really express myself, because I always felt like I was being too much.
Right, the too much thing,
Yeah.
I've had that a lot too. And that's interesting because even when somebody says too much, that ends up being a trigger,
Yeah.
right? And every time we have a trigger, I call it's a thing I teach is a 5T philosophy. Whenever we are triggered, there's a trauma related to that trigger,
Mm.
and that usually will send us into the spiral. And the only way out of that spiral is the third T, the teacher. What is this teach? Or no,
Yeah.
sorry, excuse me, is the truth. What is the truth in this?
Mhm.
In this moment, right here, right now, what is the truth in this trigger? Or, we don't have to know where the trauma came from.
Yeah.
We just know that we were triggered.
Yeah.
So what's the truth? The truth now becomes my fourth T, the teacher. So the teacher now is teaching me, is there any truth right here? If not, then like maybe let's make a new narrative from here forward.
Mhm.
And then that's where my transformation happens. But I have to get clear on what I want,
Yeah.
not what I don't want, because my subconscious will always go back to the default. It will only hears, it doesn't ever hear want or
Yeah.
no, don't want. It just hears whatever it is that we're
That
talking
comes
about.
after that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we gotta be really careful about what's going on in our
Yeah.
brain, because our subconscious is constantly like, oh yeah, I've got a narrative from like 1986. Let me pull that little sucker off the shelf. And I think we got some real data here.
Yeah.
We jump clear back to that stupid old narrative, you know? So anyway, so it's again, it's those transformation processes happen when I'm ready to take that old book off the shelf and put a new book in its place.
Oh, I like that.
So,
That's good. I like I like that visual of the books, switching the books out,
mhm,
because we talk a lot about how what you focus on comes to fruition in your life.
mhm,
And so it's kind of the same with reading books too. Like, if you read a certain book over and over and over again, you can't help but start to adopt some of those things in that book.
right. You can see
So,
yourself being a character.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you're like, "This is my favorite book. It's all
Yeah.
about me." And you put it
Yep.
back on the shelf,
Mhm.
where you get to be a part of a new book. I love
Right.
that.
Yeah. My son, the one I had was when I was 15. He's actually we're half and half business owners, and he's a subconscious reprogramming coach. And that is his whole theory is based around that we have a library. And we have this cute little librarian that likes to she's really cute, but she's also a hoarder. And she's got books and books and books and books. And she will pull them off the shelf. And he even uses the analogy from Harry Potter where he opens a book and is like screams and you hurry and shut it. No, I don't want it. I don't. And then we
Yeah,
put it away and then we don't ever really deal with it because
yeah.
it was such a, you know,
Dramatic
yeah.
event.
So it's kind of fun when you can start using some of that. And again, like I view my life in chapters.
Mhm.
I can go back. That's what I'm doing today. If I
Yeah,
open up one of those chapters, I get to close it again I
Yeah.
mean, it's not something that I need to have
Yeah.
any emotion tied to, because if I still have emotion tied to it, there's still healing that gets to be
Yes.
done.
Yeah.
So, and right now, it's just information I'm sharing with people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I like that too. Gosh, I'm gonna say that a lot, I think. I like that you just kind of like bring a picture to the things that you're working with
mhm,
because it's that simple. I think people like try to I was reading, I think I read it in your bio. People try to like make it so you have to do things a certain way to process.
mhm,
But I think that some of us who are more creative can process in many ways.
absolutely.
And so we can actually figure out what works best for us as an individual and work through it that way instead of doing it by checking the boxes on the list of this is
Mhm,
how you heal.
right.
Because there is a list.
Absolutely.
People think that it's like this is how you heal,
Mhm,
but there's so many ways to heal.
right. And we're all individual.
Yeah.
I
And our
mean,
perspective is different and
absolutely.
our experiences are different.
Mhm,
So what would help you wouldn't help me. I was raised in a home where there was emotional support and love in my home and I
mhm,
did feel loved and all of those things. But I still had my own little traumas.
right.
And it's not I don't ever think that when I talk about trauma, I think about like my experience with it and then my ability to move through and heal from it.
Mhm,
Because that's all I can do with it.
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
can't go back and
Mhm,
rewrite it,
right,
but I
right.
can write the next chapter
Mhm,
and have it look different for me in the future.
absolutely. And I mean, and some people will have, I mean, what I went through, they might have a similar response to something much lighter, what we would view as lighter, maybe somebody being mean to them on the playground, but our body still has the same response,
Yeah.
right? If she's never had anybody be mean to her whole entire life, and now we've got this little punk that's, saying naughty things to her or mean things to her, that's super traumatic for her. Where my first really gross trauma was at 4 years old that I can recall,
Yeah.
was at 4 years old. That doesn't mean that they're any different as
Right.
far as how it's stored in our body.
How you process it.
Mhm. It is, and it's just that it is processed. And
Yeah.
then again, is there emotion still tied? If there's still emotion still tied, there's still work to be done. So,
Yeah. And that's a great thing to point out to people too that because I've had those thoughts like I'm struggling with something and I'm like, why am I still struggling with this? I thought we worked through this. I
mhm.
thought we were better. I thought I thought this was gone.
Yeah,
But then it shows up again.
yeah,
And it's just an opportunity for you to readdress and do something
mhm.
with it again.
Yeah,
Like you
and I
said, the
had that
tease.
yeah, and I had that happen when my little granddaughter turned 4. I had done the work, I could talk about it, I was good, and she turned 4 and another layer was opened.
Mm.
And it gave me the chance, now this might make me emotional because I love this little turkey so much, but she has allowed my inner child to finally be healed from a whole nother view. I have loved that little girl like I wanted to be loved. I get to be experiencing life with her like I wanted somebody to do. Like, we go out to the ranch and we play with the goats, and she's helping me plant the garden, and she's doing all of these things where I mean, I might have got to play with the goats, but I never had a grandma that was doing that with me or a parent or anything like that. I was just off doing my
Or the
own thing.
emotions involved with having a parent
Absolutely.
there doing it with you. The
Teaching.
feelings of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, so we got to I mean, like, she can walk you through the whole process in the garden and how it needs to be watered and the different layers of the dirt and the composting, and, like, she can talk about all of that. I didn't even know the word composting until a couple years ago, and I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but it's just fun and it's precious that now, like, I tell my son all the time, I'm like, "She's the best gift." Not and I have a handful of grandsons too.
Yeah.
They're flipping amazing. But I raised all boys, I was raised with all boys, so I know that, but I know that she didn't come until now because I wasn't ready to heal that inner child until now.
Yeah.
And she's 5 now,
And how beautiful
so
that
it's
she can
6
have
actually.
you, but you also have her to help heal those
Mhm.
parts of you that you didn't realize were still needing that healing. And that
Absolutely.
you can just show up as a beautiful, wonderful grandmother for her,
Mhm.
and that can heal you.
Right.
And I think that's beautiful.
It's so
That you don't
cool.
have to be broken to heal, that you can heal from wherever you are
Mhm.
and just take yourself to just that next level
It's
better.
so cool.
Yeah.
And I know, and the thing is too is broken is such an overused word.
Yeah.
It's one, and I even had a discussion with this about my, pastor once. I'm like, I cannot, and I'm not gonna I'm choosing not to sing the songs that say I'm broken. I'm not gonna own that.
Yeah.
My subconscious believes it if I'm singing it. I mean, that's a high
It's
vibration.
true.
Like, why would I sing that song? No, I'm gonna stop singing when it says broken because I don't believe it at all. Not anywhere in my soul do I believe I'm a broken human.
Yeah.
I don't think God thinks I am either.
I think you're right.
So, anyway, it's kind of kind of fun to start, like, pushing some of the,
The language.
the language because words matter.
Oh, they're so big.
So big,
Yeah.
I mean, I used to
Yeah.
do a whole, like, lecture on words and the power of words and, even the power of the F word, like, and how people can have so much of a whole response to the F word, and it's like, it's just a word. You just gave it all the power, and it took away from an experience that could have been so fun for you because somebody said it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's just a
But
word.
it's the same thing with anything, right?
Mhm.
Like, you can let anything hijack anything for you if
Absolutely.
you like, it's so much a mindset because I feel like I've always told my kids this too, is like, what you say about yourself and to others does matter because everything has energy.
Mhm.
And like you're saying, those high vibration singing is a high vibration. Like,
Mhm.
things that are high vibration, why would we add anything negative to it? Because now we're just like that feels so conflicting.
Right.
Like you were saying, like singing about being broken.
What? Yeah. And I've heard, like, even some people say, "Well, I can't listen to country music, it's so sad." I'm like, "Turn it towards talking about yourself if it's a love song."
Yeah,
Because that's really
yeah.
if it's hard to hear, it's because there's still a part of you that's not ready to love you. But when we start singing those love songs as if we're singing them to ourselves, it changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And that's one thing that is big for me is through all my experiences, when I really made the big, big, big turn in my life
mhm,
was when I fell in love with myself. I took time away from dating and all the things that like the patterns we just talked about.
mhm,
And I was like, I'm gonna just love myself. And once I started to love myself, I didn't allow things in my life anymore that I used to be okay with.
right. Yeah, in
And
fact
that was very eye-opening for
yeah.
me.
And that's kind of funny because, like, January 1st of this year, um, I have an amazing, like, best friend in my life. We were high school sweethearts, and he just come back into my life in August, and he's just a really healthy, safe, masculine energy. And anyway, we had a little bit of a disagreement on New Year's, and I have had a manifesting my partner essentially note in my phone. It's just
Mhm.
under notes. And I had like 23 different little bullet points on it. And I went back through and I started reading it and I shared it with him and blah blah blah. Anyway, but on January 1st, I was like, okay, like I sat down in some like deep meditation because there was just still so much conflict going on inside of my soul. And I said, okay, what do I need? And it hit me. You have to be her first. And so I copied and pasted that sucker right into ChatGPT, and I said, "Flip the script. I need to be her if I'm gonna call in that energy."
Mm.
And January was a bit of a rough month because I got to some like new exposures of myself, but it was so flippin' beautiful. And like I know the energy that I'm calling in now, and if
Mm.
you don't match it, you get to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in a secure enough space like that I can say thank you and it was awesome and
It's been fun, it's been great, but
yeah.
now I'm
But maybe our
like that.
alignment's just not that
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
And that's hard when you look back at who, like, people pleasing or all the things that you used to do to feel like, "If I do all these things, people will love me."
Mhm.
And then you step into the, "Well, if you don't love me how I am, then you don't deserve to be a part of this."
Right.
Like, so different. Like, even the feeling of those 2 things is very different. But
Absolutely.
then when you feel the power of saying this and people seeing you say this and respond to you saying this with respect and love for you that you've just realized that you have for yourself now,
Mhm.
it changes everything.
Right.
Everything looks different, everything feels different, and people start coming to you with different energy too because 'cause they're like, "Oh, she won't put up with that, so
Right.
this
Yeah.
I can't come with her like that because 'cause she'll dismiss it."
Right. And we had a whole conversation about that with boundaries because how a lot of us are super uncomfortable, like, to enforce them. Like, and how one time all it takes is just saying, "Oh, it's okay. I'm gonna bypass my boundary this time."
Yeah,
And then all of the sudden,
they're all gone.
they're all gone. And then you're right back to where
Yeah,
where you were at, and you're like, "Wait, how did we get back here?" You know? So
yeah,
anyway, but it is like we are pattern people pleasers. Most of us, especially growing up in an LDS culture where we were programmed around service is the only way we receive joy. At least this was my experience with the LDS religion, and
yeah,
I still view myself as a Mormon, those types of things. I've been through the temple. I've got a whole story there.
yeah,
However, I had more trauma in relation to what a lot of those principles were, especially like the worthiness being outside of myself versus here.
yeah,
Like somebody else tells me I'm worthy to go to the temple. What? Like
yeah,
that should be between me and God, not me and the whoever the bishop is. So anyway, at least that's my philosophy. I'm pretty passionate about like who gets access to that energy, and my self-worth is my self-worth.
yes,
You don't get to tell me.
yeah.
So, anyway, it's kind of interesting.
That's why it's
But
called self-worth.
yeah, yeah. But interesting that worthy,
Yeah,
I mean, that's been overutilized in the LDS religion
mm,
of you have to be a certain way. I have to give you money. I have to, and so all of a sudden now, in order for me to feel worthy, I'm giving money, I'm giving my time, I'm giving all these things in order to feel worth,
yeah,
and another pattern shows up,
yeah,
or 4 or 12 or whatever.
yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that, like, because 'cause I've kind of had a similar, like, I don't know if I wanna call it an awakening or something, but just to where, like, I used to feel a lot of guilt and shame,
Mhm.
and maybe it's now that I'm 50, I don't know. Now that I'm getting older, I realize, like, no, I get to decide if I feel these things. I don't It's not like because of whatever other people have told me, I inherently feel this way when I do X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
'Cause I'm doing it wrong or whatever that language is that we, like, hold on to or grab onto or that's even, like, taught to us that
Yeah,
we just think is just right because we trust the people who are teaching us.
right.
But I think that it's beautiful when you can realize, like, how, because I have a very intimate relationship with my Heavenly Father
Mhm.
that no one will ever understand.
Right.
I'm gonna get emotional because it's so beautiful to me that it looks different for everybody. Like, and
Absolutely.
I never really, like, realized that until
Mhm.
recently, but it looks different for everybody what your relationship, like, is like with God.
Absolutely.
And once you realize that his love isn't conditional,
Mhm.
it isn't based on worthiness, and it isn't based on all of those things that, because I've always tried to love my children like I feel like Heavenly Father loves me.
Mhm.
So, like, when my children have made mistakes, I'm not raging and telling them they're a bad person. We're talking about it. Like, why
Mhm.
did you do this? Why did you make this decision? And why do you think it's wrong? Or why do
Mhm.
and we would talk through things, which gave my children a level of, I think, respect and trust for me that they would come to me with big things that I probably would have never talked to my parents about
Right.
because it didn't feel like they would understand.
Mhm.
And for me, like, finally getting to the point where I know that my relationship with God is this beautiful relationship and he loves me and he's proud of me and he loves that I do things like this podcast to give people a voice and to
Mhm.
share that voice with other people that need to hear it so that they can start taking those steps to feel whole and loved again.
Right.
Because what is this world if we don't feel whole and loved?
Absolutely.
We're not here to be miserable. We're not here to suffer and struggle. We're not
Mhm.
here to be better than Susie or Johnny. We're here to be our best self.
Yes. Yep.
And when you can finally get there, like,
Mhm.
it just changes the way you see everything. Has that
Absolutely.
been your experience as well?
Yeah, and I think too, like, for me, like, in the rock bottoms when you're all alone and it's dark and you're sad, the one constant that's always there is that.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't have a healthy dad growing up, and I still don't have a healthy dad. And for me to know that my divine father, heavenly father, whatever you wanna call him, right? God, um, is that masculine, is that safe place, is that like, and he'll surround you in the sun, he'll surround, I mean, all of the different ways that he gets to hold you where you don't get physically held by that here.
Yeah.
in this world. It's just, yeah. For me, that's what it's been, is there's something much bigger outside of myself that is safe.
Yeah.
And it's
That you
always,
can
again, it's
always go
always
to
there.
and feel
It's
safe.
always there.
Yeah.
I mean, and if I close my eyes and I ask him to hold me, I feel held.
Yeah. I love that.
So,
I love
anyway,
that. Especially when you're in, like, the darkest parts of
that's
life.
been the only way you wanna wake up the next morning is by knowing that there's something much bigger than you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've always wondered how people do it without God or
Me
source
too.
or whatever people call it,
Mhm.
having something that they know
Yeah.
is there for them. Because, like, just like you, I've had those moments too, a lot.
Yeah.
Some self-inflicted, which is fine,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
but having those moments where, like, you might feel all alone, but deep down inside, you know, I'm not alone and I
Mhm.
can hit my knees or just even close my eyes or even just say a silent prayer while I'm driving or whatever it is,
Right.
just to reconnect and feel like grounded again.
Yeah.
And it's literally that simple for me.
Right. Exactly. And it's like sometimes when you're going to bed at night and it's so dark and, and you're just like, "Oh, I'm laying here alone again," and tears are falling and you just close your eyes and you're in prayer. And it's what the coolest thing is when you fall asleep in prayer, what you're praying for ends up being your ultra manifesting time. Like, your dreams start to support what you're asking
Yeah.
for. And so, and I've never not waken up the next morning and felt better,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes that's the only way I can fall asleep is just by saying, okay, you know, Heavenly Father, angels, guides, whatever, like wrap me up. I really need some good sleep tonight.
Yeah.
I want to feel loved and supported. Give me a light of what's going to be happening,
Yeah.
in the near future.
Yeah.
Some hope.
Just a little peek.
Yeah, I don't need not tell a lot, just a little.
Just a little peek so I
Yeah.
stay motivated.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back again.
Okay.
So you were kind of talking about when you were young,
Mhm.
you experienced abandonment and trauma from a really young age. So as a kid, how do you make sense of all of that? Or did you?
I think honestly there's a lot of wasted time trying to make sense of it.
Mm.
I have my dad's story and I have my mom's story and they're both conflicting. I I honestly don't care. I Caring actually makes it to where it's still
You're giving it energy.
an open dialogue in my story that needs some healing. It happened for me, and now I have a really good relationship with my mom, my bio mom, with my parents. I don't need to go and refer to that anymore.
Yeah.
Now, will I? Yeah, to help kids, absolutely. If I need to, like, open some of that up and be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I kinda get it," you know? I also lost my mom at a super young age. Those types of things. I mean, and I have, and I will, but
You don't
I
live
don't
there. Yeah.
not at all. I really don't care. It is just a place of, like, it happened.
Again,
You
just
know?
another source of healing
It was
and
not within
growing.
any of my control,
Yeah.
and even the things that I've been in control of that have, not had the outcome that I thought was going to be the outcome, why do I care about it anymore? It's not helping me move forward right
Yeah.
now. In fact, it's keeping me backwards in a
You
lot of
can't
that old
change it.
dialogue. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what did you tell yourself if you did? I mean, I don't know, you were so young, but what did
Mhm.
you tell yourself about why it was happening, or did you?
I honestly don't remember a lot of that part.
Yeah.
The abuse part of it, that was like I was just was not a I was just I was a naughty girl all the time. No matter what I did was never good enough.
Yeah.
And never is a really big word. Um, I often didn't feel good enough. I often felt like I was in the way and yeah, I it
Well, you
was
were so
just
young too.
yeah, and I didn't know, but I also didn't know any different.
Yeah.
I
That
mean,
was your only
when you're
experience of
born
life.
into this,
Yeah.
when we're little tiny kids, we look at our parents as if they are gods. And so the behaviors in which they're teaching us is the behaviors in which we are accustomed to and what we believe is
Yeah.
truth. So I didn't know any different until
Yeah.
I was actually taught differently. And I loved differently.
Yeah.
My little brothers even loved differently than my dad did,
Yeah.
And so anyway, we opened new doors up and it was super uncomfortable for my dad. The
Yeah.
last time he raised a hand to any one of us was when my little boy was toddling, and he went to raise a hand to him, and my little brother grabbed his hand and said, You ever touch him like you touched us, I will kill you. He never ever raised a hand to any of us again. So it was interesting.
That's powerful that just that one moment changed everything even
Mm,
for your dad who
yeah. Well, because he raised some tough boys,
yeah.
and they would have.
Yeah. He knew they weren't joking.
No, yeah.
Well, probably because they see, like, now they're older, right? They know
Mhm.
what happened to them, and they see this innocent child, and they're like, "Oh, no.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
not gonna happen."
Nope, and it wouldn't either.
Yeah. So by 12, you had experienced significant trauma,
Uh-huh.
and by 15, you were a mother,
Yep.
which wow, that's so young.
I know I look at
Most
15-year-olds now, I'm like, "Whoa, how did I do that?"
I know. Like, when you're 15, you're like, "This is what I'm doing."
Yeah.
Not I mean, kind of by choice, but not fully because you
Uh-huh.
didn't fully understand,
Yeah,
like,
I had no
how
idea.
big that choice was that you were
Right.
making, right, the
Yeah.
rest of your life.
Mhm.
To, like, seeing children that are 15 and going, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I survived that and thrived through that," and,
Yeah.
like, he's doing great, I'm doing great, like,
Yeah.
we did it, but that wow,
Yeah, and
you know?
literally we've grown up together.
Yeah, you
I
have
mean,
to.
right? There's a
You
lot of
were
people that
still a
have
baby.
siblings that are 15 years apart. My oldest boy and my youngest boy are 12 years apart, you
Yeah,
know? It's like,
yeah,
this is wild.
yeah.
Anyway.
So, most people would call that the end of the chapter for somebody, like, "Oh, you had this baby when you're 15 and now life's gonna be tough the whole time because you're
Mhm.
raising a child as a child,"
Mhm.
right? For you, it was just the beginning. So how did you let that change you?
So I actually had the coolest thing happen, and some people will argue with me because it would probably be different for other people, right? We're not all the same.
Right.
But when we went in and told my principal that I was pregnant, um, and I was going to be going to a foster home, and I needed to transfer my records. And he was also, I don't know if he's in a bishopric or whatever, but he also ended up being state president and stuff like that. So very religious man. And he said, "So are you placing this baby up for adoption?" I said, "No." And he says, "You will be nothing in this world. You will be on welfare. You're blah, blah, blah." I mean, all this stuff. And I looked at him and I'm like, "I'll prove you wrong." And my very first RN graduation that got sent out was to him with a thank you because it's exactly what I needed. Like I said, that might not work for some other
Yeah.
people, but for me, it was the motivation that I needed. Tell me I can't, I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Right? That's been my me most of my entire life until I'm finally out of that suffering and fight or flight era. I
Yeah.
don't have to. I don't
Proof
have to.
everybody wrong.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So,
It's just for you now.
yep, yep. And it does. I think once we hit I'm gonna be 40 or I'm 49, I'm gonna be 50 this year. I think once we hit like right around this
Yeah.
area, it's just like, dude, like
I don't care about what anyone thinks anymore. It's all me.
I'm good. Yeah, I'll do
And
what I
I love
want. You
my
do what you
life. I
want.
love
Like
my
I'm
peace.
good.
I love whatever it is that I have right now. I'm keeping this.
Yes.
You're disrupting it. You can leave because I
Yes.
am not doing that.
Yeah.
I am doing this.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. So growing up in a religious environment, did that complicate your healing? Or did it help your healing, you think?
So I can say yes to both. Because when I lived in Logan, I had the best community around me. So it was confusing to me because I was forced out of Young Women's, which is part of,
Yeah.
in the
The
church,
youth
what we do. Yeah.
program.
Because I made an adult decision. So now I was going to Relief Society. And so when I lived at home, there was a lot of shame with that and shaming with that. I moved to Logan. I mean, they just enveloped me. They loved me. They gave me like jobs. I created the posters every week for the whatever the thought was, and I felt a different kind of love than I've ever experienced in religion than at home.
Ever up until that
Mhm.
point.
And I mean, because even, like, at 8 years old, I didn't even know what masturbation was, right? I'm in there for my 8-year-old interview to get baptized, and the bishop's asking me, this male I don't even hardly know, "Do you touch yourself?" I'm like, "Do I touch myself?" And so I got a lesson from my bishop on masturbation. Do they
Oh,
do that anymore? No. I don't think that maybe they do, I don't know, but I remember getting even asked when we went to do baptisms for the dead, the same questions. And so anyway, for me, and then again, like, some person that I don't even know is telling me I'm worthy to go to the temple, or I'm worthy to go do these activities, or this or that. And So there was a lot of trauma with that. And also the temple, that's your kingdom. That's your goal to get to and you find that one person and you get to go and it's all happily ever after. And I'll bullshit the hell out of that one. I
Mm.
don't care who you are. It's not the temple that creates that. It's your partner you're with
Oh,
and
yeah.
that person, and it's the triad of God, you, and them.
Yeah.
That's where the beauty is.
Yeah.
Now, if you choose the temple, great. But for me, like, that was like it. I was taught that. Your happily
Yeah.
ever after will only happen in the temple. You'll only be happy when this happens. And to have my kids as dad have zero interest in that. And then my oldest son was in a really ugly, ugly motocross accident. We almost lost him and was in the trauma ICU for 30 days in a
Oh,
coma.
wow.
It was bad. And at that point, all of my religious beliefs, and I finally had to stop. I wasn't able to just work, work, work and run, run, run.
Yeah.
Sitting in there with him, and I'm like, the only way I have my family forever is to go to the temple, which caused massive chaos with their dad.
Yeah.
We ended up in divorce, and then, then I met a guy that right shortly after, and he had been through a divorce, but he had been married in the temple prior, so he had had his kids and his wife already, as a sealed or
Yeah.
forever. And then when I found out that my kids can be sealed to their dad's phenomenal. There's nothing wrong with their dad, right? They shouldn't have to choose.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to choose in between their dad and my husband at the time.
Yeah.
His kids didn't have to. They still had the blessing of both of their parents being sealed, but yet mine had to choose. That was not fair to me, and I didn't believe God would make my kids have to choose that. So anyway, there was a few things like that that really, really, yeah, there was a
Threw you
lot.
off.
Yeah, yeah. So
So, would you say that sometimes religion was like an armor, or would you say that it was like a mask?
mask, 1,000%.
Put the mask on so that
Hmm.
everything is right.
Right, and I think people too also get confused with spiritual and religion.
Oh, yeah.
It's 1,000% different. Spiritual is here. It's a feeling that we experience here. And religion teaches us that we can only have spirituality if we're religious. I was taught that I would never have the gift of the Holy Ghost, or I'd lose that gift if I chose a wrong choice.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, like, I am the most intuitive I've ever been in my entire life. I can tell you things about you and everybody else that, might blow your flipping mind. I mean, is that a gift from the Holy Ghost? I don't know. Like, I don't know what Joseph
It's
Smith saw in
definitely
the
a
grove,
gift,
grove,
though.
but I think that the women saw it too, and they were told they were witches. So, and they were burned, and Joseph
Yeah.
Smith was a prophet. That's my philosophy behind it. I think it's all a bunch of bull.
Yeah.
So, do I believe he saw things? Absolutely. Absolutely. I have no doubt that he probably did. It was just okay for him to see it and not for females to.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So, that's interesting.
I know I'm gonna make you think all kinds of that. This
But
was Carrie's
no,
brain.
but it's interesting. Like, I love conversations that make me think,
Uh-huh.
because I always like to be challenged on what I believe about myself or
Mhm.
about the world or about life in general,
Right.
because through those experiences of listening to other people's perspective and really, like, thinking about it,
Mhm.
it's helped me to see things more clearly for myself.
Right.
I don't have to adopt everything everybody else thinks. That's
Mm-mm.
not what it is. It's just understanding, like, different people's perspective really helps you have so much more empathy for other people.
Absolutely. And this is mine, right? This
Right.
is my perspective. And
From
I
your
from my
experiences
own
and
experiences.
your lived life.
Right. And my little brother is he's religious. He's in the bishopric where in his ward. He's an amazing human. And there's a lot of new changes that's happened at the church or through the church, right? I'm not even willing to hear them. I'm just not in that space right now. That doesn't mean tomorrow that I won't want to sit down and maybe have a conversation with him about, hey, tell me a little bit more.
Yeah.
My curiosity has increased. Will you teach me a little bit more about what you were talking about or whatever? But right now, I don't need that in my space. I'm so connected to God right now. I don't feel like I can go to the mountains. I can go to wherever, and I feel so much peace.
Yeah.
I don't feel it sitting in a pew.
Yeah.
singing sad songs. I don't. They feel sad to me. So,
Yeah. But I also think that like that awakening, because I think it's an awakening to what God
hmm
really is. And
absolutely.
that awakening for you and the fact that you get to connect with God more closely than you ever have in your life, even when
hmm
you were religious.
Right.
I think that there's something to that. And I think that, we hear all kinds of stuff. I've heard all kinds of stories with people in and out of different religions just on my podcast. And some of them are horrific
hmm
and some of them are beautiful, but that no two are ever the same.
No,
Just like your experiences in life and my experiences in life are so different, so is our experience with God.
absolutely.
And so is our experience with people in the church or out of the
Right. Because
church
there
or
is man
religious
in the
people.
church, right?
Yes.
And the men and women are making the decisions. And so absolutely we are prone to their perception, and then their perception gets, put into the space of like that is their expectation of us.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there is a lot of that too. So that's why for me it's more individual.
I
So,
think it should be individual for every person, but I think
mhm,
that some people just kind of get stuck in it, checking boxes every day of
mhm,
this is how I become a good person. Is I check all these boxes every single day until the day I die,
yeah,
instead of living, because I love that you said intuition, because my mother was very big on intuition and she always taught us, you know what's best for yourself over anyone else.
mhm,
And that intuition's from God, because I
yep,
believe that to be true,
yep,
because nobody else knows me like God knows me.
mhm,
And then also that if your intuition is contradictory to something someone else is telling you, then you know your default, which is your intuition.
right,
Whether it's a
mhm,
doctor or whoever in your
mhm,
life is telling you one thing and in your gut you're like, "No, it's actually this."
right,
I go there.
yeah,
If somebody walks in a room and I get this feeling, I don't care. I
right,
don't need proof.
no,
I got all the proof I want
right,
and need right
yep,
here,
yep,
because that's never steered me wrong.
absolutely,
And I think that a lot of the world has gone away from intuition and they're
mhm,
seeking for something in the world that they're never going to find,
mhm,
because you can easily be swayed by people if you don't have like a core belief or a
mhm,
something to ground you and hold you firm in where you are.
right,
You will easily be swayed by what other people say. It's like we were talking earlier about menopause. It's like me looking on the internet for things that are going to help me manage perimenopause.
yeah,
And um there's a lot of advice out there,
mhm,
but not a lot of wisdom out there. And that's the difference, right? So there's
right,
a lot of advice in the world, but this is where the wisdom is.
right,
So if we can be intuitive, then we know
right. Yeah, and
where.
I love doing muscle testing even with clients. I'll have them come in and I'll have them hold a supplement. And then I mean, we teach them like what does how their body says yes and no, and then I'll
Mhm.
have them hold a supplement and like you see some of their body just go like right into the supplement because their
Like almost
body.
have to step
Yeah.
forward because their body's like,
Yes.
"Yes."
And so it's so awesome when they're finally start trusting themselves, but that
Mhm.
is the biggest thing is learning that self-trust,
Yeah.
not discounting it. And if you find yourself asking other people questions, like that's your first like aha that's probably not in your alignment because you're asking for validation outside of yourself.
Mm.
And intuition has 5 seconds and then ego jumps in.
Yep.
And ego stands for etching God out, right?
Ooh, I like
So, not
that.
cool? Yeah. So, anyway, like, so therefore, I'm going to either back old back narratives of things that might go wrong or this or that, or I'm going to start seeking for validation outside of myself because I don't quite trust myself
Yeah.
enough.
And it doesn't take long to start to trust yourself if you
Mm-mm.
really, because that's another thing too, that I like that you say that, because it is so quick for us to, like, our intuition shows up and it feels like a little uncomfortable or something that we don't really want to do, so we're quick to like find reasons to not listen to it.
Yeah,
Because
it's so true.
that's comfort zone. That's like, I like where I'm at. Like, I don't really want to go down that path because
Mhm.
I think that there's some hard stuff there, but the hard stuff is where the good stuff comes from. Like the
Absolutely.
best things that we have are from like the hard stuff,
The
right?
experiences. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back
Okay.
to you became I love all this.
I know I tangent all the time.
So do I.
I'm a
So
I'm a squirreler.
So let's go back to you're 21 years old and you
Okay.
became a nurse,
Yep.
which that's amazing. You were
Yep.
so young and you were like, I'm going to prove him wrong and I'm grateful that he challenged me.
Mhm.
So, you spent decades looking from the outside like the picture of strength and success, but now you're a nurse. What was actually happening internally during those years?
So, for me, I was getting to care for people. I love caring for animals, I loved caring for people.
Yeah.
I always literally have always been that person. Like, my brothers would kill an animal, I was trying to bring it back to life, like,
Yeah.
I was rescuing everything. And that actually does stem from that 4-year-old when, not only the trauma that I had, but the trauma in relation to my mom leaving, that abandonment. And in between 4 and 6 in the human development, when we have things like that happen, we take on that responsibility as ourself. If I would have been a better kid, then they would have
Yeah.
stayed. So this is all on me. So then all of a sudden now I'm performing, performing, performing and fixing, fixing, fixing. And so I got to be a nurse and I'm fixing and helping people all over the place. And yeah, and I even did that in my relationships. Found the broken men. I think I could fix them. Wild.
What is that? Where does that come from?
From
Like,
that 4-year-old to 5-year-old. There's
yeah,
something there where that's some kind of a trauma, like, in between 4 and 6 that happens that if you take on the accountability, if I would have been a better girl, that would have never happened.
mm,
My mom would have never left if I would have been a better girl, or if I
mm,
would have done something happens in our little subconscious brain that says that, and then we become fixers.
huh,
And you can come back and you can look at almost any I mean, I bet you almost every single nurse out there, you could find somewhere in that 4 to 6 that there was something that happened,
interesting.
or caregiver type
Yeah.
worlds.
So, mm, that's interesting. That's fascinating.
Like a lot of service bases, even
Yeah.
like, Dee Dee and her massage, stuff like that. Like, she gets to help people feel better,
Yeah.
putting her hands on them and those types of things at one point. She doesn't do that anymore, but it's still the same thing. Like, there's probably something. She goes back in her little file box, she can find something back there.
I like that. I like these little ahas you're giving me because it helps me understand things more clearly.
Mhm.
And I love to understand the world more clearly as much as I can. So, what does survival mode feel like from the inside for you?
Oh, goodness. That's been I still do this, I default to this, and, my son catches me on it all the time. I'm
Just
very,
because
very
it's
good.
known?
It's just something that I have been in my entire life,
Yeah.
like, that fight or flight. I don't sit down very long, I feel like I'm not productive if I sit. I don't watch TV because I feel like I'm wasting time, like, there's something I can be doing. There's, a lot of those things. I go, 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 go till I crash. And I'm really working hard on trying to find a little bit more of a slow pace. Like going out to the ranch and playing with the goats and things like that. I'll even like, blah, back at them,
Yeah.
and activates the throat chakra and it makes you laugh and all the kind of that kind of fun stuff. And you finally are starting to ground into some energy where you're turning the brain off. Because it's tough. When you're in survival mode, you don't ever turn off.
No, because
You
if you do,
just
it's
go, go,
unsafe.
go. Yeah, you don't feel safe. So that is exactly the word, is finding that seat of safety. And can I just sit down for a minute? Maybe I just need to give myself permission. Or
Yeah.
maybe I'm gonna put it on my schedule tonight that I'm gonna go take my son to dinner, and then we're gonna sit on the couch and we're gonna watch an episode of Dutton Ranch or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do this and I'm gonna put my phone down and I'm not gonna answer any work stuff tonight. I'm gonna hit the mountain on Sunday. We're just gonna go in the mountain. We're gonna go jump in the flippin' reservoir. Cold as all flippin' heck, but we're gonna go do this. No service, no nothing. We're gonna go sit afterwards and have a nice picnic. We're gonna do these types of things. These are new learning things for me. And like for me, waterfalls are another place where I can just turn it all off. All I can hear is
Mm.
the water. It just something happens in my brain. It's my safe place. There's one specifically down by Richfield. It's called Bullion Falls. It's just beautiful. And you can hike clear up. And there's another fall up at the top not a lot of people know about. And you sit down there and all you hear is the water.
Yeah.
And then you can just like put your feet in and just let it wash away. It's so beautiful.
Water is my healing
Me
too.
too.
Like
And it's feminine, right?
I'm from
So
Southern California and going to the beach would
uh-huh.
wash everything away. And it wasn't just It's funny because I moved here and I'm like, "Yeah, I just miss my beach." And people are like, "Oh, we have lakes. They have beaches." And I'm like,
Mm-mm.
"There's no salty air. There's no crashing waves. There's
Mhm.
no, like, peace from that repetitiveness of the crashing waves." And, like, it's just everything about being at the beach for me is so healing. My feet in the sand,
Mhm.
just not worried about anything and just being fully present in the moment.
Yep.
Like, one of those things for you that might feel like I'm wasting time because 'cause I'm just sitting here, but for me, it's so therapeutic, and it was such a great place. When I got divorced from my first husband, it was such a great place for me to go to
Mhm.
just center myself again and reconnect with myself
Mhm.
and start those healing processes of loving myself again.
Yeah. And I'm the same. I love the beach too. I just wish I could go more.
I
And
know.
it's
Me
just
too.
it's just too far
It's
away
so
here.
far.
Yeah, like Costa Rica has become one of my very favorite places. We do
Mhm.
retreats down there and there's a big man-made lake there. It's called Lake Arenal. So you get like the fresh water, but then you can also hit the beach. And it's just the healing that happens in both places. Oh, it's
That's
something
beautiful.
special.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I think the grounding from being so close to the equator is also must do something because I have never felt I never
Stronger pull, maybe.
yeah, more grounded in my life
Yeah.
than when I'm down there.
That makes
Beautiful.
sense to me.
Yeah,
I mean, if it works, just go for it. That's what I say.
exactly. Exactly.
So, you said you kept recreating the same pain in different forms.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What was the moment that you actually saw the pattern? Not just felt the pattern, but like saw it
Mhm.
and saw it clearly enough that you're like, oh, and you couldn't unsee it and you knew you had to do something about it.
Yeah. So, in all honesty, I thought that I had figured this out. Um, and I was in a really, really bad relationship. I own a CrossFit gym, and my husband at the time, after we got married, started using drugs, meth, heroin, and then would use steroids or yeah, the steroids to counteract the effects of both. Anyway, that was just a little bit of the drugs he was using, and then he would drink a ton of alcohol and become super abusive. And so that was my rock bottom as far as
Mhm.
relationships go. And I had done a lot of healing after that. I did a full year of if it scared me, I did it. Like I worked on me. And that's actually when foot zoning come into my life. And my first foot zone, I had more healing happen in that 45
Mhm.
minutes than I'd had in 7 years on and off of therapy. It was insane. And so at that point, I'm like, I need to learn this. And so I get to bless other people with that now. So um, anyway,
Actually, pause. Go deeper into that because I want to
into
hear
foot
more
zoning.
about that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
So
we'll
foot
go back
zoning,
to that.
like we call it reflexology on
Mhm.
steroids. It is bringing the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies all into alignment. And we can also so there's four different zones on the body. There's the hands, which are the spiritual body, which makes sense, right? We lay the hands on
Mhm.
people for healing. There's the feet, which are the physical body, the back, which is the mental, and then the face, which is the emotional. So on the feet, when we find emotions stuck in the feet, which is a physical body, they've been there a very long time. And so we can actually just help release them. So, and sometimes we can, check in and see if they might need some different supplement support or things like that. It just depends on the zoner and what they're comfortable with, and the recommendation on that. But the biggest thing is clearing those old emotions
Mhm.
and then replacing them with what they want, like, something that's going to serve them.
Yeah.
So, but most of the time, this is me and all my acronyms. So I have the 3R theory on this. We recognize it, we ask for the release, and then we have to know what we're going to replace it with. Because anytime we know you pull out, if we cut a cord or if we pull it out by the roots or whatever we're doing to get rid of that energy, if I don't fill in the roots, then it's going to fill back in with old stuff,
Yeah.
right? Or if
Yeah.
I don't, anyway. So that's a lot of it. But yeah, we find it's awesome. Every single person that comes in feels lighter, feels yeah, I don't know. There is I can't even like put words to like a lot of it because it is such an individual experience. But
Just the whole
um
mind, body,
yeah,
spirit
and I
type
mean
thing.
most of all, it just brings us back to where we feel grounded,
Mhm.
safe in our body, and in a true alignment. So I think that would be most of the feedback I get from the foot zoning. Um, yeah. So
Okay.
okay. So
So
then back to
foot zoning, but back to breaking those patterns. Like
uh-huh.
you the first time you realized
So I
I'm doing
realized
this
it when I
over and
was
over.
in that, and I didn't even really realize it until I'd moved. My oldest son kept moving further and further away to get further and further away from him and from the guy I was, or my husband at the time. And they ended up in Vacaville. Well, he flew me out to Vacaville and my youngest son, the first time even on an airplane, other than when my oldest was life flighted, but flew us out there, and he called me out on the bruises. And at
Your
that
son did.
yeah, at that very point, something hit inside of me. It was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm living the life that I judged other people about living."
Mm.
I did. I had judgment on other people, and I'm like, "How do they stay in something like that?" That is crazy. I didn't even see it when I was in it. And so, subsequently, I came home, we ended up getting restrained anyway, great big ugly story with all
Mhm.
of that. But thankfully, he's all out of all of our lives. We have an indefinite restraining order on him for the rest of our lives, which
Wow.
us my whole family, which I didn't even know was a thing
I
until
didn't I've
this.
never heard of that.
Yeah, me either, but we have one. So,
Seems like it
anyway,
would have to be pretty severe to be able to even
yeah,
have that
and
in.
then, I mean, and he everybody knew who he was in the town and knew what he was capable of and knew his history and things like that. So yeah, it was a pretty easy. My divorce was final in 5 days. It was
Oh, wow.
that fast. So anyway, so then I jumped into again just a ton of work on healing, and then I thought I was good. And then then I started dating a guy that cheated on me. I'm like, "Okay, no more of that." Then I started dating another guy that ended up being a really awesome person. He is an awesome person. I mean, the only problem was he lived in Alabama. I lived here. It just wasn't gonna work because I would've had to move to Alabama. My roots are here. My family, my everything is here.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, and I mean, there was a couple of things like that we didn't completely align with either, and so, he'll always be a friend, and I'm grateful for what he got to teach me in the 18 months
Mm.
that we did have that long distance relationship, because he did really teach me how I deserve to be treated. And then I met my last husband, and we jumped pretty quick. He was a member at my CrossFit gym, and then when I sold out to the gym in town, um, I said it was okay. And at that point, I would never date any CrossFit members. I was just like,
Yeah.
"I'm owner,
Yeah.
this doesn't jive
We're
together."
keeping it clean.
Yeah. And so, anyway, when I sold out, I was like, "Okay, maybe we can date." And anyway, we went on a couple dates and kinda hit it off, and, but he'd been a member at my gym for, like, 18 months prior to, so we kind of knew each other. I didn't have any phone numbers or anything like that until we dated a couple times, but anyway, he when we got married, in November and started dating in, was it late April, I believe we started dating, and we got married. We bought a house together in July and then got married in November. Jumped really fast, and I just thought, "Oh, this is just God's timing." Like, I trust this, like, all the things. On the honeymoon, I saw I mean, he'd sent a text with a heart to the girl that he was dating with, or dating prior to me,
Huh,
and I was like, "Oh,
that's so
I don't know if
icky.
that's really okay." Anyway, called him out on it. He got upset with me, so I just dropped it, right? And then a year later, like, we never really got along. We struggled the whole time. Uh, and I was sleeping in another bedroom, and he was sleeping in the main bedroom, and um, I didn't think anything of it really, other than we were just not getting along. And we went out for family pictures, and I noticed him, like, deleting messages. This was right around my birthday. It was in October, and I was like, "That's really weird." So I went home the next day, and I checked our phone report, and there was, I don't know, 600 text messages, a couple hour phone calls in the middle of the night to this girl. And I called him out on it, blah, 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 blah. We worked through it. And then he did it again the following January, and actually did some really shady stuff with her, and then I was done. So that whole thing just saw, like, and I kept going back. I don't want a divorce. I don't want a divorce. I don't want that to be my narrative. Blah, 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 blah. And another thing is too, is like, for some reason there was something that was stuck in my head about being a statistic.
Mm.
If I'm gonna be a statistic, I'm gonna be the one that is on the positive side, not on the negative side, right? You're 15 years old, you're more likely to have these things happen to you. Like, do you know how many 15-year-olds that have babies actually get a bachelor's degree?
Not
Less
many.
than 3%.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good statistic I wanna be a part of.
Yeah.
You know how many 15-year-olds end up in multiple divorces? I have no idea, but I'm sure it's a lot, right?
And
So
that's one
that's
you
really
don't
I
wanna be
don't
a
wanna
part
be
of.
a part of
Yeah.
that. However, that has been a part of my story,
Mm.
and I have no shame behind it. I just, I just now am recognizing the patterns that I'm not going to tolerate anymore. Like, you get to be this or you're
Yeah.
and at this point, I don't know if there'll ever be a marriage in my life again. Just because, like,
You're not close to it,
I
but
know, but, like,
you're
if it's supposed to be, it will be,
yeah.
However, I know that that's not something that I have to have in order to feel valued,
Right.
whereas in the past, that was a truth.
Right.
Value.
But you've done that work to create your own
Yeah.
value and your own worth within
Mhm.
yourself, that you're not seeking that external validation
Nope.
everywhere, whether it's fixing
Mhm.
or, okay, this person actually does love me, but they're kinda doing something, but is that okay because they love me? It's
Mhm.
like that little conflict inside
Right.
because it's a step above the last one.
Right.
That's what it was for me.
Uh-huh.
Like, I got divorced and then the next one was just, like, this much better.
Mhm.
And then the next relationship was, like, this much better than that one. And then the next one, same thing. And then I went, "What are you doing?"
Right.
I had this moment where I was like, "What are you doing?
Mhm.
You know what it looks like to be in the worst,
Right.
and you're just getting incrementally better. Like, don't you wanna get, like, this much better so that you can
Right.
just love the person you're with and it can just be beautiful and last forever?"
You're right.
Not
Yeah.
not easy because every relationship has its up and downs, but, like, good enough that you can work through some of those hard
Right,
parts.
right, and I mean, there is that because when you do have 2 different people, you're going to have
Yeah.
conflict.
Raised
However,
2 completely different ways.
right, however, like, I want to be with somebody that has the emotional intelligence to have the conversation with, like, "Okay, like, you feel this way, I feel this way. Can you hold me in that feeling? Can you maybe try to see
Meet
my
me
point of
somewhere in the
view?
middle.
Like,
Yeah.
you can be right, and I think I can be right in this too, but it doesn't have to be the black and white, and those types of things, having some flexibility and actually hearing me,
Yeah.
like, actually feeling heard and seen and, like, I mean, and cherished, right? It's another thing too, another one of my patterns was proving it, I mean, in that marriage, I dumped $170,000 into the house that we had. He came into the marriage with nothing, and so that was tough,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm showing you, I'm here for this, like, let me show you all the ways
I'm
I
worth
can be.
it.
I'm worth it, like, and I'm like now I'm just like, "What was I thinking?" I wasn't, right? I went right back to those old patterns, those
Yeah.
old behaviors, and it's just something. It's just fun to finally be in a space where, like, I'll do what I want, you do what you want, and, it's the 1 plus 1 equals 11, not the 1 plus 1
Yeah.
equals 2,
Yeah.
you just
Everybody's giving 100%.
absolutely. But we're staying in our own lane.
Mhm.
Like he's like, I got the nicest text message, "You've got this, take a couple deep breaths, like, this is what you do," because I'm like, I thought we were going live because I'm all worked up. I'm like, "They can't delete anything that I say."
We don't like
So
to delete what people say
I
because
know.
everything has, like, a place. Like,
Absolutely,
your whole story,
absolutely.
everything that you've said so far, like, there's little lessons in all of it,
Mhm.
and we just never know who's gonna resonate with what our guests say, so that's why
Absolutely.
we don't like to edit,
I love that. I love it.
because even the messy parts have a lot of
Mhm.
lessons in them, and when you're like you said, your son had to point out to you, "Why are you doing this?" And
Mhm.
you had that judgment towards other women who were in the exact spot you're in,
Right.
and in that moment, you went and you probably had the thought, "Well, what am I teaching my boys too?
Well, yeah, and I was like,
And what am I teaching myself?" Because 'Cause you're teaching yourself something too.
yeah,
Not just that you're comfortable, just that it's okay because I'm gonna justify the reasons why it's okay for me to be in this, like, meh kinda relationship.
right,
Because if I justify it, then I'll stay and it'll be okay,
right.
even if I'm wrong.
Right. Well, and what's crazy is, like, the true constants in my life, outside of God and Jesus have been my children
Yeah,
and will always be constants in my life because they're my children. They're a part of me.
forever.
And I was pushing them away. Like, they were running away.
Yeah.
They didn't feel safe, and I didn't even see it, and that was, like, my first big aha with the narcissistic men
Yeah.
and things like that, like and seeing the patterns of that in my life and being raised by that and still seeing those tendencies in my dad now, and, even in other people that are close to me, seeing those, and, I mean, my best friend, her ex has got some tendencies that way too that are just still it's heartbreaking to see the
Oh, yeah.
kids now and how they're affected because she still has young children. And I'm like, I'm so thankful I'm in the space now where I'm at, where I can just love and support her through that. 'Cause I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed because I was in that relationship and every single thing was controlled.
Mhm.
Everything. Like he took me I was a dialysis manager at the time. So he would take me to work at 3:30 in the morning. He'd go to the gym, get set up for 5 o'clock classes. He'd teach 5 and 6 and bring me breakfast. And then he would go teach the 9 a.m. class, come back at a little bit later and would have lunch together. He would pick me up at 4 or 5 at night, take me home. He would sit by the bathtub while I would have a bath. And then we would get up and go, or I'd get out, go to the CrossFit gym. And that was my life every single day. I never had 1 ounce of time without him.
Oof.
Everything was controlled.
Listen, I've been married to my husband for 26 years, and he's my person.
Uh-huh.
He's all those things that, like you were saying, like, I found that, but I need alone time still.
I
Like,
do
he
too.
knows, like, if I go outside, he's like, "Hey, have fun." Because
Right.
I will sit outs I will literally Dee and I talk about this all the time. I will literally sit in my backyard, even when it's 100 degrees outside, because I love being outside so much.
Yeah.
Like, outside is where I can just, like, because I get overstimulated if I'm around a lot of people with
Mhm.
a lot of big energy too.
Right.
Like, people who are maybe not they're, like, kind of unsettled in their energy, so it's
Mhm.
kind of, like, chaotic. I get overstimulated.
Mhm.
I love people, I love being around people, I love talking to people, but I need alone time too, because I
Absolutely.
need that so that I can be like,
Yeah. Are you
and
familiar with the human design?
uh-uh.
So, yeah, we gotta look yours up one of these days. So, I'm a 2-4 profile on the human design, which is a hermit, like, part of it's being a hermit.
Yeah.
And so, I was living so outside of my design and everything by not I didn't have any time to myself. And so and now, like, my best friend, he's also a 2-4, and so I'm like, "Oh, you need hermit time. I need hermit time." Like,
Yeah.
"You go do you, I'll go do me." Like, it's cool.
And it's not anything personal against
Absolutely
anybody.
not.
It's very much like something I need for myself so that I can reset and refresh and get back in a place where I can be there for the people that I want to love and serve.
Absolutely, and, like, how cool is it to have an emotionally intelligent, partner that honors that?
Yeah.
That is, like, such a gift.
Yeah. And
So
he loves spending time with me. Like if he's
mhm,
going to the store, he's like, "You want to come to the grocery store with me?"
mhm.
And I know that he loves that. And so sometimes even if I don't want to, I love you, babe. Even if I don't want to, I'll go because I know it's important to him. Because
Right.
so that's sometimes what we do too is
Mhm.
just we know what our partner needs.
Yep.
And even if it's not necessarily something we want to do, we do those things because it
Mhm.
shows us, it helps us to show them how much we love them too. And that,
Absolutely.
like, I do things that he's done, like, I've picked up some of his hobbies
Mhm.
because it gives us time to do something together that he enjoyed, but now we enjoy together.
Right.
And so that's one thing that I've always loved is just trying out his hobbies and seeing which ones I'm
Mhm.
gonna pick up, because 'cause they're not all of them,
Right.
but there are some of his hobbies that I've just taken on because I'm like, "Oh, this is a way we can spend time together doing something that I know he loves," and it makes his day when I do the things that he loves with him.
Oh, I love that.
Like, he wants me to learn to golf. I haven't done that yet, but
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever be okay with golfing.
I think that I can
I think you
because
can
it's
too, but I don't
outside,
want to.
because it's
Yep, there
outside
you
and
go.
it's,
There
like,
you go.
being outside for
Uh-huh.
hours at a time, and I like that,
Yep.
but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, never did I ever think I'd be a goat farmer until my guy came into my life, like, never.
And
Yeah.
here you are.
Never did I ever think I'd be delivering goats on my lunch hour either, until this year. It's been
Do
so
you
much
milk
fun.
your mama goats?
Not yet. Nope. They're simply tools to clean up the yard right
Yeah.
now.
They're your lawnmowers, right?
Yeah, yeah, or the property. It has, like, a whole bunch of, like, really pokey trees. They're called
Oh, yeah.
Russian olives, like, so they don't care. They'll eat anything. Those
That's
goats,
wild.
they're
How do they
awesome.
not get stabbed by all the
I don't
thorns?
know. They have, like, iron mouths or something.
Because they
Yeah.
do eat everything,
Yeah,
huh?
they eat thistle, they eat I mean, yeah, they don't care. Yeah. They're
God knew
awesome.
what he was doing. He's like, we're gonna need goats.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when we were talking about negation, like with the cows, how they, they'll put the cows up on the mountain
Mhm.
to clear out the land. I'm like, bring the goats in after. They'll eat all the stuff the cows won't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's actually in California, there's a couple little places where there was like a bunch of overgrown brush. It
Mhm.
was cheaper that for them to get somebody's goats onto their property to clear it out than it would have been to hire somebody to take it all out, like
Yeah,
mow it or do whatever they had to do to it.
it's wild.
Yeah, they just bring in a huge swath of goats and go,
Yeah. I love them.
"Have
Their
fun."
little personalities are so flippin' fun. We have a little one, her name's Taco. She just yeah, one of the other ranch guys, like, named her Taco, and she's been bottle fed, and she'll walk right into the trailer with you. She's just it's the cutest thing. She'll ride in the golf cart like a dog.
Yeah,
It's
probably
just
thinks she's a person.
she knows, she's fun. Anyway.
She's like, "Well, you gave me a bottle, so
Yep.
that makes us the same."
Yep.
Okay, so when we spoke on the phone, I remember you saying that the things that happened in your life happened for you,
Mhm.
which I love that because again, the power of language, right?
Right.
Um, you talk about shifting from what's wrong with me to what happened to me and what is this trying to teach me.
Yep.
So that sounds simple, but I think I've talked about this with Dee. Like some things that I say are simple, but they're not easy because there's a difference. Simple means like the act of doing it.
Mhm.
It doesn't take a long process. It's
Right.
just simple. Where easy means that anyone can do it, and it's not hard for anybody.
Right.
But simple can also be challenging, right?
Perspective.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
But for a lot of people, I think that that's the perspective of making
It
changes in their
right?
life. And it depends. Like I think the further you walk down that path of like it's I can control,
Mhm.
it starts to get more and more easily done.
Right.
Um, so what had to happen internally for that shift to actually take root in you?
Honestly, like, I think I've been blessed with this most of my entire life. I really do. I think it's just one of the things, like, I've never, ever been knocked down and then never just jumped right back up. It is literally like, okay, I mean, oh, this is changing in my life. Okay, like, what's the next step? And I just am a forward momentum person, and so I think that
Like
for you
you always see
it
the
is
silver
simple. Like
lining.
when you say when you say it's simple,
Uh-huh.
for me it's black and white.
Yeah.
Like it feels better and I will follow the feeling of feeling better to continue to move forward than to stay stuck in this narrative.
Because
Like
this doesn't
it
feel good.
feels yucky. Like there's sickness, there's illness, there's all the things that are, wrapped around that. We even talked about that with weight. 10 pounds feels icky in a body. 5 pounds feels
Yeah.
icky in a body. I put my pants on and they're tight on the belly. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel so fat. And all the narratives that are going on in your head. And versus like when you don't, you put it on and like your vibration, oh my gosh, I look so good today. Like you're sitting up higher, you're smiling, you're making eye contact with people, you're not uncomfortable. But even 5 pounds like will make you slump down. Be like, gosh, I hope I don't see anybody when I go grocery store today. I feel so fat today. Like, or else I'll put a baggy t-shirt on and try to hide myself or whatever. It's a 1,000% a vibration and frequency thing. And if I put out that I'm going to, that I want to be sick and that I have this narrative wrapped around this or whatever else, like, I had a doctor try to tell me I had lupus. I'm like, don't you dare put that on my chart. I had enough of the titers on my blood work that said that I could have lupus. And I'm like, that is subjective and I do not want it on my chart. Do not put it on my chart. I don't have lupus. That was 20 something years ago. Never really had any symptoms of lupus. Like, do I have some autoimmune stuff? Absolutely. Most people that have had some massive trauma do.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. We treat ourselves for inflammation, we feel better, and we think better, and we perform better, and we recover better. We just treat ourselves. We treat ourselves as we're in prevention instead of chasing the illness. Where most people get stuck in chasing the illness,
Yeah.
staying stuck in the narrative. And, like, oh, I got this diagnosis. The doctor told me this. You're going to lay down with that? Bullshit it. Come on, let's go. You know? That's the narrative that just rings in me and I don't lay down for anything.
Yeah. Just pushing back.
Mhm. I've just had that mentality
Well,
my entire life. But again,
you had
that is part of
everything you push.
survival,
Yeah,
right?
but everything you push back against has been a benefit to you
Absolutely.
once you decided to.
Absolutely.
Not that you pushed back against everything you should have, but once you decided to, everything changed.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's the narrative. Like, what do I want?
What story are you telling yourself
Yep.
day after day,
Yep.
minute
Because
after
that's the
minute?
only direction I'm going are the things that I want are the things that are in my path. And if otherwise they're just not there. People will ask me all the time, well, what if this happens? What if it doesn't?
Yeah.
Like, what if it's really the best case scenario? Because I'm going with that one, you know?
We recently were talking about um, changing how you say things to yourself. Like instead of saying, I have anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
you say, I am feeling anxious.
Absolutely.
Because when you feel something, you know that you can quickly change the way that you feel.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something, it's going to take a bigger shift to change that. So if it's your identity, it's a big change. If
Absolutely.
it's a feeling, it's a simple little change.
Right. And really where we got messed up was when they did start diagnosing depression and anxiety because somebody that is feeling depressed, like, let's talk about why we're feeling that way and work through the feeling.
Yeah.
Oh no, let's give you a pill so you don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Or let's go buy an ice cream or something like that. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll help you feel better.
Yeah. You won't feel worse at all.
No. Right. And again, the anxiousness, you know what else looks just like anxiousness in the body? Excitement. So the whole way down here, I'm like, I'm so excited, but I'm like a little nervous, feeling all of these feelings. But yeah, like my body can like adapt to the excitement in such a higher frequency versus the
Yeah.
anxiousness, which is fear.
Yeah.
Now lies right in our kidneys. So, and another really fun thing on that side note too is when we start talking affirmations, we kind of get in like this is a little side note. We get kind of confused because if I say I am rich, I have a whole bunch of books that come off the shelf that say all the ways that I'm
Oh,
not,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? Because
We all
I
can.
have a narrative on what rich looks like,
Mhm.
right? In my brain, I need to have this much money in the bank in order for me to feel or somewhere in my subconscious in order for me to feel rich. That's what my subconscious says. So I get all these books off the shelf that say, well, your bank account says this, or, this or this or this. And so, but if I say, hey, Carrie, look at that money flow that you had coming in today. All of a sudden, I just landed a whole new like loop in my subconscious brain because I heard my name and it just put a new narrative because nobody's really said that. Look at the flow of money that's coming in today. This is awesome. This is allowing for the richness to come into our life that we're calling forward. Then I can say, feeling rich today,
Which is more energetically powerful than saying, I am rich and having
Mhm.
everything show up to prove you wrong. Because even if you, in that moment, you feel rich or you believe to be rich,
Mhm.
those things are always going to show up. Because
Right.
I've noticed that too when I've done affirmations and stuff, is all the things in the back of my head being like, I don't think so.
Yeah. And it's not, there's nothing that you can do to counteract that.
Yeah.
Right.
Even
However,
though I'm a lot like you, like I see the silver lining. I try to look for the good. I try to be positive as possible because I like the feeling of positivity.
Mhm.
Again, going back to how we love to feel. I love feeling positive about my life, my world, even when things can show up and maybe like kind of knock me a little bit.
Mhm.
I default to what I set my brain at that morning, which was I feel so blessed today. I feel so grateful that I get to live the life that I live and do the job that I do and be with the people that I be with and talk to the beautiful people that I get to talk with and really understand like what makes people so resilient because that's
Mhm.
like my biggest motivation in life is seeing people who have experienced resilience and continue to show that in their daily life, but also seeing people at their worst that get that first little hit of, "Ooh, I like how this feels when I heal."
Mhm.
And then they just wanna propel themselves like a rocket towards the healthiest place they've ever been and create design a beautiful life that they never wanna break from.
Absolutely.
For me, that's like the most amazing day if I get to check all those boxes
Right.
because I love people. I love people finding out who they really are.
Mhm.
Like when somebody can tap into that inner person that has never been able to blossom and come out and then they like the foot zoning for you, and then you
Mhm.
just hit the ground running because you're like, more of this, please, the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
Like I think, it's just
So
so
Mhm.
invigorating to me
Mhm.
for people to see their real true potential.
Right.
The real true potential that they get to show up for and design every single day.
Yes.
It's
Living
awesome.
intentionally.
Yeah.
I
It's
love that.
amazing.
I love it.
So you talk about okay, we talked about that. What's the difference between being broken and being patterned? You don't like the word broken.
No.
Okay,
No.
let's reword that. So what's the difference between thinking that you're stuck where you are and realizing these are just patterns, and if it's a pattern, I can break the pattern?
So if that is like you have to stop. You have to find and I don't like to say have to. Like you get to finally make a choice of like sitting back. And for me, like I've been set down multiple times. Like I had a shoulder injury, I ruptured my Achilles. Like big things happened in order for like God to set me down and be like, "Dude, Carrie, look, right? You have to stop running because I will. I will get up in the morning and I will run till we're going to bed. Like, and I won't even see things that are going on." And so for me, like I mean, again, it's taking injuries and stuff, big injuries in order for me to be set down. But then I was actually getting to see the data that was coming in that was already trying to be shown to me. And I was ignoring it or maybe not understanding it because like with my shoulder and, you know, and my ex-husband doing all the drugs, I just happened to be watching a show with it called Intervention. I had no exposure to drugs in my entire life. Zero. None. And all of a sudden I'm seeing, oh my gosh, there's a reason we have burn marks on our spoons. Oh my gosh, I found that piece of tinfoil and it had that stuff. And he just discounted it, you know, and I found it and I showed it to him. All these things and I was like,
You guys had an excuse for what it
yeah,
really was, and it's
and
not
I
what you
was
think.
naive enough. I didn't understand it enough. And then again, I sit down and turn the TV on and Intervention, the show, you know, is on and I was just like, here we go. Thanks God. So anyway, but that is like finding a way to find clarity.
Mhm.
And sometimes that is just saying, okay, like my nervous system has been hijacked long enough. Now I'm having a health event. Now maybe I'm just waking up more tired than when I went to bed. Things like that, that my nervous system is just screaming at me. I've got to find peace. Okay, so how do I find peace? Let's recognize the patterns and the behaviors that we're doing. And now let's start working through them. And what do you want? What's
Yeah.
on the other side? Because you've been living all the things that you don't want for long enough. Let's go to the parts that where we do want and find the joy and the peace in there. And like for the first time in my entire life, I can say what my best friend and I call it excited peace. It's like this little rushy feeling. It
Mhm.
feels like so good. And we're just really just are like, I don't know.
Like joy.
It is. And it's for the first time because I remember doing this workshop one time with my ex-husband and it was talking about where do you feel things in your body. And so the guy said, "Where do you feel joy?" And I'm like, "I don't feel joy in my body. I feel joy in the moment." But yet my ex-husband could explain how he felt. It was like this feeling with inside of him. And I mean, all these things that I'm looking at, I'm like, what? Like, I don't feel things unless I'm in the moment until now. Until now, where I finally have my nervous system regulated enough that now I can even remember a song coming on that I remembered playing at the roller skating ring when I was a little kid. And all of a sudden, I'm smelling the smells. I'm remembering the little boy that come up and like grabbed my hand and really, and I remember his hand and like feeling all sweaty and gross, but I was so excited. And I remembered every part of, I mean, the smells, the atmosphere. I remembered all of it just by the trigger of the song. I would have never been able to do that, I mean, a couple years ago. But regulating your nervous system, allowing peace to be like your guide,
Mm.
and then it's just beautiful. Again, like I tell people all the time, I've never been more in love with my life than I am right now.
I love that.
It is, it is the best. It
And
is
it's
so
the
good.
life that you designed.
Yeah, every single day.
You every day
Mhm.
you wake up and you go, "This is what it looks like for me today."
Yep. And that's why I say I have a new favorite every day.
Yeah.
You know, we had some kids with us on the weekend. We're up in the mountains, and they're like, well, what's your favorite color? And I'm like, well, today it's the, you know,
Yeah.
she's like, you don't have just a regular favorite color? I'm like, no, like, I do not limit myself,
Yeah.
you know? And so, yeah, so I have new favorites every day. It changes.
It changes.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
So,
So let's talk about the work that you do now.
okay.
So when somebody comes to you and they're completely stuck, repeating the same relationship,
Hmm.
like we know, same job, same self-sabotage. So where do you start?
So it is pretty client specific. I do a pretty detailed little health and mental, because I'm a health coach as well as a life coach. So I integrate them both together. And then I also use a lot of what my son's subconscious reprogramming course does as well. So anyway, I use all of those tools, but most of the time I just need to understand where they're at first. Like, really, what's the root cause? What are we really, like, physically, where are we at? Again, the four bodies: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. We'll go through all of those to try to figure out, and then my son also throws relational in there, because that's really important too. Because if that's off, these other four are
Yeah.
definitely gonna be off,
Yeah.
right? And so sometimes we need to fix the relational issue first, and then we can hit because if I'm in a relationship and I'm living with somebody and I'm in a place where I cannot move out of that, no matter what work I do on myself.
Well, because you go home every day.
Exactly, and that's supposed to be your safe
Yeah.
spot. So and so, yeah, so it is that. It's trying to, I mean, it is pretty client specific. I have some that I work, with the human design on, and we do a coaching plan in relation to that. And then I mean, most of my people that I work with are searching for identity, um, trying to figure out what some next steps are for them, or finding who they are. For me, like, being a mom since 15, when my baby left, he went to the National Guard. It was like, "What? Who am I?" And even in the
Oh, yeah.
grocery store, somebody asking me, "Hey, you're Colton's mom." I'm like, "Yeah, and I have a name." You know? Which, when my kids were little, I didn't even care if I had a name. I could be
Yeah.
Colton's mom, or who Chance's mom,
Yeah.
Race's mom, right? It was the coolest thing ever just to be that. But now I'm like, "Yeah, and I am me."
Yeah.
And I can tell you all of the things that I am now, especially in this moment, right? So, and so, yeah, it is more for me. It's helping people find purpose in their identity, and yeah, and it just depends on where we're coming from,
Yeah.
you know.
What's the most
Uh huh.
important thing to address first?
Yep. And I mean, a lot of it comes back to identifying the traumas and the triggers. And then I mean, if we can live that 5 T's philosophy, most people can, like, you're just fine.
Yeah.
Because every single thing that's going on in our life is teaching us something.
Oh, yes.
And if we can let the life be our teacher, okay, I'm learning. I can see this. I'm learning that this has been a pattern. Okay, now let's talk about steps to get out of it. So,
I like that because I was talking to my brother today. So he texted me yesterday for my birthday, and then he texted me again today, and we were talking this morning about some books because we like to share books we're reading. And I'm gonna look it up because I like what he said to me about this really quick. He said, because we were talking about how just life and like what's going on with me in my life and things that we've done in our lives, like because we lost our oldest brother to cancer a few years ago, and a lot of us have gone down the path of being even more healthy. Like we've
mhm,
always been pretty healthy in our family, but gone down that path of I really want to take care of my body because
mhm.
after I've lost my dad and my brother, my oldest brother, to cancer.
I'm sorry.
And once you lose people to cancer, you do everything you can to not be part of that
Absolutely.
because there's a lot I can control. And so I'm going to control what I can control and do whatever I can
Mhm.
to not be in that position. But I've taken it a step further and said, I don't want my children to have to take care of me because I didn't take care of me.
Yeah.
So my big purpose now is take the best care of myself so that I
Mhm.
can live a long time and live in my body in a way that I can use it to like play with grandchildren someday when I have them,
Yep.
and just really fully be present and part of my children and grandchildren's lives.
Mhm.
And so we were just kind of talking about that kind of stuff, and he was reading a book, um, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie, which I don't know if you've heard of
Heard
that
of that
book,
one.
but it's really good.
Okay.
And we were just talking about like the power that our mind has on our life, like the impact that our thoughts and what we tell ourselves and what we believe about the world and what we say about ourselves and say about other people, like how all of that shapes our world and shapes our life. And I think it's so amazing to know that I can make changes that will last a lifetime.
Mhm.
Like none of us are ever stuck where we are,
No. No.
ever.
No.
And I think it's so beautiful when we realize how much power and control we truly do have over our lives,
Mhm.
and how simple little changes can, like, it's like when you're in a ship and you're headed to a destination, if you move off that destination just a little, like 1 degree over thousands of miles, you're going to end up in a completely different location.
Absolutely.
Not
That's
just right
crazy.
next door, but like
Yeah, in another
you could be,
country
yeah, you
maybe.
could be across the ocean in a completely different
Mhm.
like continent that you were shooting for.
Right.
So it's that way with our life too. Like just because we're on this path and we're headed down this certain way, it's not permanent. We get to choose that.
Mhm.
And our thoughts shape that. And our
Mhm.
actions shape that. And our beliefs shape that. So constantly being a student and challenging yourself against your current beliefs. Not that every challenge has to be met with, okay, I'm going to make a change there. Sometimes you challenge to reinforce what you know.
Right.
And
I agree with
sometimes
that.
you challenge
Mhm.
to maybe think or see differently because
Mhm.
you feel like there's something I might need to do different here. So let me challenge this and see how that feels for me.
Right.
And I think it's so like that's by design.
Mhm.
We were meant to go through this life and find the joy and find the beauty. But I also believe that through those hardest times in our life, those are always also purposeful too, because we can't truly meet our full potential unless we stumble along the way, unless we're challenged along the way, unless things come up against us that really shake us. Because when we're shook, we take a deeper look at something.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so beautiful that you do the work that you do, because the more of us that understand that that's how it is, that we really have so much control over the way that our life goes or ends
Mhm.
up or the trajectory of our life, nothing's impossible.
Yeah. I love that. So good.
So, let's see. Is there a pattern you see most often in high achieving people, especially people in healthcare or caregiving roles, that even they don't recognize in themselves?
Yeah, it's that hyper performance. Just go, 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 go,
Yeah.
and don't take care of themselves, you know? I mean, I used to brag that I had a nurse's bladder. I could hold it for 12 hours, you know? But there was you sometimes you didn't have a choice. Like,
Yeah.
when you're running from patient to patient and, I mean, and all of the nurses are doing that,
And it's
you
all
know?
critical that you're dealing with.
Yeah, like, you're that's not healthy for nobody, like, to be able but, yeah, but we would brag about those types of things, and then even, like, as a competitive CrossFit athlete and owning my CrossFit gym and those types of things, like, I felt like you had to suffer to get results. We see that in, so many different areas too, right? In order to get results, I have to do
It
the
has to
grind.
suck.
I mean, and then we see burnout after burnout and burnout, and a ton of my clients are burnout clients. They're just at the point of, like, their nervous system has been hijacked from that grind, and they are now and there's something physically going on,
Mm.
right? So, I mean, our company offers genetic testing. We do, peptides and, IV therapy and all those types of things. So we really are getting to treat the whole body, and again, I always go back to the 4 bodies just because it's so important for us to hit all 4 of them. And we do a weekly call. It's called a line, and we hit that. The first week we talk the physical body. The second week we have a theme every single month, kind of in relation to the season and what's going on. And then we just kind of we hit on all 4 bodies throughout the month. And it's so, so cool to see the shift in people,
Mm.
and, like, all of our weight loss clients are on get to participate in that and see the heaviness starting to lift, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, and then just see their spirit starting to lift.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So good.
We had a podcast guest on that had been trying to lose weight, and once she did the podcast, she said she dropped 4 pounds the next week because there was something that she said on the podcast that she needed
To release.
to release.
Yeah, and heaviness
And she
is
had
that,
done a
right?
lot of work already, and she was in a really good place, and she felt really good about a lot of things, but she was just having a hard time. And she's like, it was like a switch that turned on, and
Mhm.
I was able to drop 4 pounds that next week.
Yep. One of the first things I'll ask a client that holds weight right here, what are you trying to protect? You're armored up really, really hard right there. What are you trying to protect? And are you ready to get rid of the armor because you
Mm.
don't need it anymore?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So how do you help someone tell the difference between genuine intuition and an old survival response dressed up as intuition?
So that's what we talked about a little bit ago with that first hit. Like what is your body or like what's being told in that very first hit?
Mm.
That's it. And then you have, I mean, after that 5 seconds, and that's when ego jumps in.
Yeah.
That's when a lot of that old narratives come in, a lot of like, oh well, this can be too good to be true, or whatever. Like some of that the old stuff,
Getting them to pay attention to the
the
first thought.
first and trusting themselves,
Yeah.
trust it. Just go with it once or twice, you
Yeah,
know?
because those fears that step in right after, God never works through fear. So then
No.
you know your intuition won't either.
Right. Fear's a liar.
I mean,
So
you can get a gut reaction to something
Mhm.
that maybe feels fearful, but it's more of a it's more of an attention grab than a fear, I
Right.
think.
Well, that's when you get to check in. What is my body teaching me right now?
Yeah.
Like, is there something that I'm not, and lean into it. If I'm leaning away from it, it's just a no,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know my body's knows. And if I'm leaning away, like,
Yeah.
and I also like my body language will dramatically, if I'm coming like this, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm protecting my solar plexus. Why? That's my power center right here. Right. And if I'm like this, I'm not only protecting my solar plexus, but I'm protecting my heart and my throat.
Hmm.
So when we start to recognize what body language is, I mean, I recognize it on my clients as well as myself, but when I have a client that's sitting like this, oh man, we're in flow, we're moving.
Yeah.
But the very minute that you start to see their hands coming here, here, and then they take a breath and then they sit in it, they're off. They're done. They've got old stuff coming back in. And so then we back it up.
Yeah, because the
you know?
body's gonna do what it's gonna do.
Yep. 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 And it's funny because they don't, a lot of times people don't even realize that they're doing it.
Mhm.
So,
Well, I folded my arms earlier, and that was my first thought. I'm like, "Oh, now I'm closed off." I really did just have I don't
uh-huh,
know if you noticed, but I,
uh-huh.
like, earlier closed my arms, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm closed off." But I wasn't, like, trying to be closed off. It was
Mm-mm.
just something it was a
Yeah.
comfortable position for my arms to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. If someone's listening right now,
Mhm.
and they feel like their past disqualifies them from a life event that they want, what would you say to them?
I'd say, I mean, I'm gonna just say it point blank. Like faith will always feel better. Faith feels better to follow the path that, like what is leading to your highest and best good. Like what is going to lead to that feeling of feeling your best self. And yeah, there might be some discomfort in step one, but if you can just take that step one to saying yes to you, then the next steps become a little bit easier and a little
Mm.
bit easier. So say yes to yourself today, just one little thing. It doesn't have to be big. And then just kudo yourself, like high five yourself in the mirror. Whatever you need to do, say, good job. Hey, Carrie, that was a good job. Like you chose yourself today, and this is how. Good work. That might kind of sound silly, but like we need that, especially when we've never really had, if we've never grown up with anything like that. For me to validate myself means everything. I don't need external validation outside of myself. If I get it, great. Thank you. Right? I mean, I'm not going to discount it, or I've gotten a lot better at taking like compliments because for a long time I always thought there was something behind them, right?
Mm.
No, that's not true. I can actually take a compliment now, and I can actually take people's validation of like, "Hey, you did a great job today," or things like that, right? Before I would have just been like, "Yeah," and I could have had a negative, if I'd have done this better or this
Oh,
better,
yeah,
right?
critique.
yeah, we critique the tar out of ourselves. So anyway, if I could tell anybody right now, like just follow the feeling that you're striving for, and stay in the path. And my son told me that one time, faith feels better, and that's where he went. And he served a mission in Scotland, Ireland, and that was like he'd send it home on every one of his letters. Faith
Faith
feels
feels
better,
better.
and it does.
Yeah.
And it is like when we look at the emotional frequency chart that David Hawkins has, courage is the very first thing out of the force. Courage is faith. I
Yes.
have the courage to step to what I'm calling forward. It might not be easy, but it's time for me to take care of myself. If I want to be around, to watch my grandbabies, if I want to be that grandma out there throwing the football with them
Mhm.
and playing on the grass and not having to have somebody help me get up off the grass, or, I want to be the one that's there. I want to be like, hey, grandma, you got to slow down on this hike. You're killing me. That's the grandma that I'm
Yeah.
striving to be, and
Mhm.
I am right now. I get to be that. And it's because I chose step one.
Yeah.
And it's not been, I mean, there's been days that haven't been easy, and there's still gonna be days that aren't easy. They're not all supposed to be, because we'll never learn if we all have just beautiful cakewalk days. We
Yeah.
don't learn much,
There's no
right?
lessons in the
No.
easy.
So, it's just like the pendulum. Sometimes it swings one way, but it's gonna swing back the other way sometimes. And sometimes it's a little bit more dramatic, right?
Yeah.
Pain acts the same way. It doesn't matter, again, like whether it's physical, spiritual, mental, or emotional. Pain is pain. And when I go to the hospital and they say, "Well, rate your pain." Oh, it's feeling like a 6. My 6 might be a 10 for somebody else. And the next time I go to the hospital, that 6 now might be a 10, because I've experienced a different kind of pain that's taught me what pain really is. So, it always is changing.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Um, what's one thing you wish someone had told you back when you were 15, holding your baby with no idea what was ahead? What's something you wish someone would have told you in that moment?
I honestly wouldn't change a single
Or is it
thing.
just that you can't do it?
Huh?
Well,
No.
because when somebody told you you're not gonna
Yeah,
be able to do anything, and you took that, right? That
right.
was like a challenge for
That was
you.
a challenge for me.
So
Yeah,
maybe
so
that's it, right?
I mean, I wouldn't have changed, yeah, nothing. The information that's given was given to me for all for purpose,
Yeah.
and I can't think of any other dialogues given to me that would have changed
Yeah.
any of the trajectory, and would have, uh-oh, here we go with the sneeze. This is how we clear energy in my world, maybe. Anyway, um, excuse
Bless you.
me. So, yeah, so for me, like, trying to even think about if I was given information that would have changed who I am today,
Yeah.
I wouldn't change any of it.
I love that.
I needed all the experiences that I've had to be who I am and to be able to help the people that I'm helping.
I believe that too for myself.
Yeah.
Because if we try and take away from what we currently are, that means that there's like I don't regret my past either. I don't
Mhm.
regret all of the hardships, whether self-inflicted or not, that I
Right?
put myself through, that I've experienced.
Mhm.
Because every single thing I've done, I've always tried to learn a lesson through.
Right.
Sometimes I had to like relearn it few times.
Right. Yeah.
But I've always tried to learn the lesson.
Absolutely.
And I think if we try to learn the lesson, then everything that's happened to us is for us
Mhm.
and for our good.
I agree with all of that.
So what does it actually look like day to day to live in alignment rather than in survival?
It's waking up intentional. So, there's every night before I go to bed, I do something that's gonna help my future self. So, whether it's making sure I've got water in the coffee maker, whether it's setting my clothes out, whether it's doing a little bit of a brain dump to help me be more successful for the next day, I will do something to help my future self so that I'm more prepared for the next day. The next day when I wake up, I'm going through, um, like, what does my day look like? What do I feel, number 1, in my body? I do a lot of somatic work, and so I check in from head to toe. Is there anything that's feeling tense? Like, how's my neck? That's my first one that usually teaches me some stuff. And so, do I need to do any releasing there, direction-wise? Am I feeling confident in all the ways we're going? Like, what's my goal? I usually set my goals on Sunday for the week, and am I in alignment with what's going on there? Do I need to change it up, because it can change every day? It doesn't have to be any way other than the way I make it.
Yeah.
So, Anyway, so it is living intentionally. Like, how am I going to get my protein in this morning? I get 50 grams of protein every single morning with my breakfast, so I'm halfway to my halfway to my minimum protein goal, and then I feel like I'm setting myself up for success for the rest of my day. So I use ChatGPT. This is just another little fun thing for you guys. Use ChatGPT for your food diary. It is awesome. It knows your likes, it knows your dislikes. If you just put it all in there, take a picture of your food. It will give you your protein intake for that meal and it'll give you some fun ideas. It's a really fun, easy nutritional hack because I mean, with my Fitness Pal and those types of things, I've used those types of apps for
Yeah.
years. They're just like so cumbersome, and it's
It's a
like,
lot of work and it makes you it I get burnout from
me
using
too.
those
And so
because
ChatGPT, like,
I
will
go, "Oh
give you
my gosh."
ideas.
Or if I'm, like, starting to eat and I'm like, "I didn't weigh any of my food,"
No, yeah.
or whatever it is, there's always
Mhm.
some hurdle.
Yep.
Or you go out to eat and you're like, "I don't even know where to begin with this meal that I'm
Take a
about to eat."
picture with ChatGPT, it'll
That's
tell you it
beautiful, I
all.
love that. Thank
So,
you.
you're welcome, and like I said, living you said it earlier, was simple. My son and I's motto is keeping life simple. Like, simplicity with consistency is the easiest route,
Yeah,
always. We overcomplicate things so often that's into where a lot of sabotage ends up,
yeah,
and so we live a sabotage-free life by keeping things simple.
I like
So,
that. I think
that's a fun
we
little
should all
kudo
do
for you.
that. Because if you can keep the things that, like, you have to do every day simple,
Mhm.
then all the other stuff won't feel like too much.
Absolutely.
But if those things are hard, then everything feels hard.
Yep. Get your water, get your protein,
Yeah,
get your movement in, like, you're winning physically.
yeah. And for me, if I don't work out first thing in the morning,
Mhm,
I dread it the rest of the day. And I love working out,
mhm.
but it has to be
Yep,
first thing in the morning for me.
yep,
Everybody's different on that one, but, like, that's for me, that's my hack, and it gets me right and ready for my day of
yep.
work.
Well, and that's how I get that's where I usually set a lot of my intentions.
Yeah.
I do a lot of rebounding now, which is really wild. I went from a competitive CrossFit athlete to a chick that loves to jump on the
Yeah.
trampoline, but it works. It works really well,
Well,
and
that's
so
really good for your body, your
it's so
lymphatic
good for your
system.
lymphatic. Yep, and that's been something that's been not in flow with me for a long time, where injuries start.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Last question. Let me see. Yeah, last question. So, what changed in your routine, not just in your mindset, when you shifted to living in alignment rather than survival?
I started choosing me. I stopped, like, wanting to making sure everybody else was okay before myself. Like, I get to be okay first, and then I can, like, share some of what I have left. But, yeah, it's no longer operating from that an empty cup,
Yeah.
and
Which I think
continuing
a
to
lot
fill,
of
fill, fill.
mothers do.
Oh, yeah. It is
Because I
wild.
know when my kids were little, it was all about my kids. I didn't
Mhm.
take care of myself like I should have.
Mhm.
Like, I was okay. I would go for a run every morning, but I
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
not what I should have been doing for myself
Yep.
because that was like that helped, but I think that I could have done more for myself
Right.
and been more present for my kids because I did more for myself. So
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
Is
That's
there
it.
so share with everyone where what your company is and where
Okay.
they can find your location.
So we are Reclaim Wellness. We are located in Richfield, Utah. We also have a lot of things that we do online. In fact, most of our coaching is done online with both my son and I. And and then of course we do peptides and peptide consultations. We have a phenomenal nurse practitioner on board with us that helps, like, with our weight loss program, and all of that can be done online as well. So we have some accountability type stuff that we will work with clients on, and then also the education side for the weight loss. And then the genetic testing is a new thing that we just put in with the coaching afterwards. So helping people, like, find the best supplements in relation to their genes and things like that. It's really, really fun. Not only just supplements, but like lifestyle and
Yeah.
food and all of it, how it all
How it makes
plays in
sense for
together.
you specifically.
Yep. Because it's not a one size fit all. Not
No,
not everybody should take 400 milligrams of ibuprofen. That makes zero sense.
especially if you're me.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
like,
allergic.
yeah, you're allergic, but I mean, but also if you put you next to, like,
Yeah,
a tiny little 100-pound Asian, you shouldn't have the same dose.
right.
That makes 0 sense. right? You're like, what? How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
You're 6 foot tall. So does it make sense for a 5 foot woman that's, to have the same dose that you have? It
Right.
just anyway. So, but that's where we like to challenge a few things because every person is an individual person, and we all have our own unique genetic structure. And if we can like coach and work from that, you know, so yeah, some people are a little bit more prone to depression. Okay, let's talk about how we're going to nurture and make sure we get the serotonin and things like that regulated in your body naturally. We don't have to do this with,
Yeah.
with medication. Maybe we do, but maybe we don't.
Yeah.
So,
And
anyway.
I'm like a try everything else before medication kind of
Mhm,
person because I've found that there's most things you can address with something natural or a lifestyle shift or something like that
mhm,
before you have to take that route with
yep.
medicine.
And I'd like to tell people you don't need another supplement. You need to regulate your nervous system.
Good. So any closing thoughts?
I don't think so. I think I've like spilled so much. I
Yeah.
went off on a lot of tangents. So thanks for, for hanging with me on all of
Hey, I
that.
can
This was
follow
so
you
fun.
down any tangent you
It was
and
fun.
you followed me back, I noticed
Yeah,
too,
it
so
was
that's
great.
perfect.
It
But
was
thank you
great.
for being here so much, Carrie. We really
Yeah.
appreciate your
Thanks for having
insight,
me.
your wisdom, your experience with life, and just how you've shown through your life how beautiful someone can create a life if they just kind of work through some of those things that have happened to them.
Yeah.
And they can use those things to work for them
Yes.
and not be something that happened to them.
Yes.
So thank you, Carrie.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Irene Cares podcast today. And if you would like to, you can give us a follow and subscribe to our channel, but also leave us a comment and let us know if there's something that you've incorporated in your life that made a big difference for you, a shift that kind of helped you see things differently or heal a little bit from something. We want to hear from you. So have a blessed day.